Hello, Corey Anderson here, ready to go over the very last chapter, chapter number 15 of The Instant Millionaire. Now, before we get started with this, I really want to share something with you, specifically you, and yes, you know who I am talking to, and whoever you are that's watching this, know that you are amazing, you are awesome, you have the power to create your life, and that you could literally do whatever it is you desire to do in your world, because that is what we are all here for, and that is what your life is. Your life is your creation, not someone else's. It's yours. So whatever you want to do, set your goals. We have the formula, and let's go out there and make it happen. What I want to share with you today is I met a few nice people today at work. I just got back maybe about an hour and a half ago, and I can't even begin to tell you how great of a day that I had. I met this guy named Ed. We had a short conversation. He's an older gentleman. I met another guy named Mike. He's also an older gentleman, and he was telling me be safe on my bike. There's a lot of people who are still learning to, that aren't always aware of their surroundings. So as a biker, we are the ones that need to be aware of what is going on, because our life is in the most, at risk, I should say. And I talked to him for a while. He had a band on his wrist, and he loved playing tennis. And over the years, his ligaments just had worn out in his wrist area. So his worn out ligaments in his wrist were causing nerve pains all the way down to his elbow. So we were going over corrective exercises for him, and I went ahead and let him know that, because next week he's starting his physical therapy, and I gave him a few tips for corrective exercise. I told him just to go ahead and use nothing but the cables, because at our gym we don't yet have resistance bands, but I told him to go ahead and use the cables and work strictly on lightweight, so he could help stabilize those muscles and also work on his endurance, because since he's an older gentleman, older people don't want to get bigger, they just want to get healthier and stay fit and get a little bit leaner. And so I helped him with that, and next week he's starting his physical therapy, which is great. They're going to give him some good stretches and movements so he could not only strengthen his tendons and ligaments, but also his joint motions as well, because one joint affects all the others. They're all interconnected. For example, you have your feet planted on the floor. Move your knees back and forth and look at what your ankles are doing. Now keep your knees stationary and move your feet and ankles back and forth. Look at what your knees are doing. They're joints. They're all connected. In one movement, one joint will invariably affect all the others. Now, I met another guy this morning. I can't quite remember his name. No. But we had a very great conversation, and we were talking for probably a good 30 to 40 minutes. And we were talking about, his mom. His mom has Alzheimer's. She's a very older woman in her 70s, and she has Alzheimer's, and she has basically short-term memory. And he was telling me how difficult it could be, having to take care of someone who's not understanding the reasons why anymore, because they're forgetting. He's basically teaching her again, like what a a thermometer or a thermostat or an air conditioner is, like the thing that tells the temperature. You press a button that controls the control center for the heater in your house and the air conditioner. You know that button. You know that digital thing that's on the walls. And yeah, he's basically reteaching her all that stuff, and she's constantly asking what it is. The house is always too hot or it's always too cold. She's always asking him if he's hungry. He would tell her like, "No, Mom, I just ate." 5 minutes later, she would ask him again if he's hungry. She has caretakers at her home now, and she's always asking who they are, why they're there, and they needed to take the keys away from her car because she's in no state to drive anymore. She tries to go somewhere, she may forget 5 minutes down the street, and then end up, in a whole nother place, and that's not safe, and she's not really understanding that anymore. And that's what Alzheimer's does. These things exist out there, and it's important that, especially us as trainers, but just in general, it's important to know that stuff is out there, and that's what's affecting people. Never judge anyone that is not in your power. And if you judge somebody, you're just in judgment of yourself, because you're completely seeing somebody how they are when you have no idea who they are or what they are. Like, never judge anyone by the book of their cover. Get to know them, talk to them. Especially when people don't really talk to each other these days, especially the younger people. And if they do, they're not talking about anything they learned. They're talking about, Anyway, aside from all that, I'm sure you observe these things out there. Whoever's watching this, you've observed them before. You see people and how they may react to each other, because how you perceive somebody determines your attitude towards them. So always perceive somebody as best as you can and get to know them, because everybody's good. Everyone has their good qualities and everyone has their bad qualities. I do, you do. We're all humans. We're all extensions of Prime Creator, and we have the ability to either be on the negative side or the good side, the positive side, which is what we all should strive for. Because we have that power. We have the power to choose who we want to be, where we want to be, how we want to do things. And there's a saying. I don't know who said it, but he says that inside each and every one of us there are two wolves. There's the bad wolf and the good wolf, and whichever. It was a story of an older man and a young boy. Excuse me. I have the hiccups. Just for a quick minute. Hold on, let me. Alright, they're gone now. Yeah, I know people have told me, like, "Oh, how are you able to do that?" Like, it's just something I learned to do. Just send my hiccups away. But anyway, there's a older gentleman and a young man. And the older gentleman asks, or the young boy asked the older guy, like, he asked him something. I can't exactly remember what, but the older gentleman responded, like, inside each and every one of us there are two wolves. There's a good wolf and then there's a bad wolf. And the little boy asked, like, well, which wolf wins? And then the older gentleman replied, the one you feed the most. We all have our good and bad qualities, but whichever one we feed the most to ourselves will determine which side of the scale we are going to be on. So choose the good, choose the right, choose truth, choose righteousness, because justice, truth, and righteousness are good in general, always wins. The good always wins, because you could be in a, because here's the difference between good and evil. You could be in a pitch black room, full of evil, full of darkness, and full of just, unrighteousness, and light a little candle, and instantly that darkness will flee. But you can never do the opposite. You can't go into a room of truth and wisdom and goodness and righteousness and love. You can't go in that room with any amount of darkness whatsoever. Period. You can't. Because light always wins. Good always wins. This world is moving into a beautiful place. It is the destiny of this planet. It is the destiny of us, our human nature. Because in reality, we are all spirits. Inhabiting this body, we have a mind. Our mind and this body are our tools used for creating in the material world. Because we live in both the spiritual world and the physical world, here and now. The two aspects of the complete whole, which make up life. There's the universal Father, which is the spiritual energy, which pervades all things. And then there's Mother Nature, the physical manifestation of each one of these. And with all that, continuing with where we were, this guy that I had met, and we were talking about his mom, he was also talking to me about, because he was in one of those the supporting chairs, and I asked him how long he was in there, and he said for 2 months. And he comes to the gym every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to do the aquatics class, and we were talking about that. And he got it from work. He would change tires, and he would always be lifting the tires and having to align the bolts in order to get the tire on, and so he could tighten the tire. And it just wore down on him. After a while, it's his whole spinal, a vertebrae disc in his lumbar spine, which is the lower 5, and the cartilage between them is completely worn out. And his vertebrae are starting to rub up towards each other, which causes a lot of nerve pain in his lower back area. And this pain sends out shocks into his legs, and sometimes after he's walking for a while, his legs will really start to hurt, and he can't lift his arms up at a certain height, or else his arms will start to hurt, and he always feels a pinch in his lower spine. And that sucks, like that stuff happens, and it sucks. And it's amazing, like hearing all this stuff, and it's just, we literally have no reason to not be thankful for anything we have. And I met another guy, his name was Henry. He was in the police force for 28 years, and he was telling me these stories, like people, they go out there and do things. He was telling me stories of, his experiences of chasing bank robbers. He was telling me stories about his experiences of being in a state county jail. He was telling me experiences of him working out at LA for the county, police department. And these people are out there, and they're around danger, because they're dealing with gang members. They're dealing with people who, they go out and do those things that aren't I don't want to say aren't natural, because they're obviously doing it, but it's not right. They're doing things that aren't right. They're hurting people. They're essentially, they're killing people. And we weren't put on this planet to kill each other. We were put on this planet to love each other and be with each other. Coincide with each other and create together, not to compete with everyone, but to create with everyone, because we're all in this together, and just the things I've learned today, and I've learned them from opening up to others, building relationships with people. I mean, it's what I love to do, and just knowing that I'm not the only one who out there that not only sees things the way I am, but there are people who have gone through so much more, that have gone through, been down a totally different road, and it gives you a view of what it's like to, be down that road. Even if it's not your road, you get to have that glimpse of what his life experience is like. And that's how we grow. We grow from talking to others, from learning from others. Wisdom is all. If you run into somebody that has knowledge and wisdom, sit down and listen to them. Don't just hear them, but actually listen to them, because there's always something to learn from somebody else. There's always something that somebody else knows that you don't. Like this person watching this video right now. You know something that I don't know, and vice versa. We're all here for each other. There's always something that somebody knows that you don't. And with all that being said, that was essentially my day. I met a lot of people today. I trained my client today. She kicked butt today. She inspired me. She's cool. People are cool. It's amazing what people do to reach their goals, and how motivated and inspired they are, and how much it inspires you to keep moving forward to reach your goals. Because we all have goals in life, and we all deserve to make them a reality. With that being said, I really wanted to share that with you, and let's go ahead and finish our book. And like I said, this is the last book I'm going to be reading on this channel. The only other books I'm going to continue on this channel is reading my weekly logs, my weekly what is this word? I'm looking for progress. My weekly progress on the Master Key system, because it's a 24-week thing, and I said I'd do it, and I'm going to do it, regardless of how I feel about it after 5 months from now. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. Even if you fail or not, you have to do it. Because if you make a resolution and you don't complete it, you're only building the habits of failure. You have to make it happen. That being said, Chapter 15, in which the young man and the old man embark on different journeys. The young man was not alone for long. The butler appeared, holding an envelope. He handed it to the young man and said, "My master entrusted me with the task of giving this to you. He said you should read it in the privacy of your room. You may spend another day here, then you must go. These are my master's words." The young man thanked him and went immediately into his room. This time, however, he took the precaution of leaving the door slightly open. The envelope was sealed with red wax in the shape of a rose. The young man sat on the edge of the bed and carefully broke the seal. A delicate scent of roses wafted from it. He pulled out the Instant Millionaire's will. This extraordinary testament was handwritten in ample, majestic letters that seemed to breathe as if imbued with their own life. A beautifully handwritten letter accompanied it, written in black ink. "These are my last requests," he read. "I am leaving you all the books in my library. Some people believe that books are utterly worthless. They believe that they themselves are reinventing the world, and since they have not benefited from the knowledge found in books, they unfortunately repeat the mistake made by their forefathers. In this way, they waste a lot of time and a lot of money. On the other hand, don't fall into the trap of trusting implicitly in what books contain, letting those who came before you do your thinking for you. Retain only what outlasts the passage of time. Since our first encounter, I have tried to convey to you the pearls of wisdom I have been able to glean during my long life. In this document, you will find a few thoughts that represent my spiritual legacy. I would like you to do your best to communicate them to as many people as you can. Tell people about our encounter and the secrets you have learned. Before doing so, however, you must try them out. A method that has not been tested and proven in your own experience is completely worthless. Within 6 years, you will be a millionaire. At that time, you will be free to undertake the steps necessary to share this legacy with people. Now I must leave you. My roses are waiting." The young man was choked with emotion and sat for a moment in silence. He wanted to thank the millionaire for having given him such precious gifts. He went quickly back to the dining room, but found no one. He called out to the butler, but there was no answer. He ran out to the garden and spotted the millionaire lying in the middle of a path at the foot of the rose bush. How eccentric, thought the young man, sleeping in the middle of a garden. But the nearer he drew, the more troubled he became. The old man's hands were folded upon his chest, and he held a single rose. His face was perfectly serene. Had he known the exact moment he was going to die? Had he chosen the moment of his departure and simply willed himself to die? It was one secret the millionaire had taken with him. The young man sensed it was time for him, too, to leave. He reached to take the rose, but then pulled his hand away. The rose belonged to the instant millionaire. It was his final companion. He stood over the millionaire and vowed to convey his teachings as best he could, then started down the path to return home. When the millionaire's library was delivered to his apartment, it was so immense it left little room for the rest of his things. He was confronted with a dilemma. Either move elsewhere or get rid of some of the books. He chose to move, and he did it with a light heart. Now that concludes our story of the Instant Millionaire. Thank you for watching this with me. Remember, we have our formula. We have our goals. Read your goals every day. I read mine. And remember our daily affirmations. I am the light of the world. I am. You are. We are the lights of the world. Let this ring through your thoughts, through your mind, through your body, each and every day, until it grows, until that seed grows and becomes a plant, and eventually your character. Remember, character equals destiny. You choose. Because us, we are destined to do great things. We are destined to make a change. We are destined to change the world. We're doing it every single moment of the day. I know I am. I'm helping people get their health in line. I'm changing the world, each individual at a time. You watching this video, I know that in one form or another I helped in some way. It may not have always just been this book, but just in general, just me being me helped you to be you. That's what we're here for, to be ourselves, to be us, to be you, because you are the light. It is your heritage. It is what your spirit is, nothing but a body of light inhabiting this vessel, this temple of ours. And it is through this vessel that we're able to create in this material plane. Light is your heritage. Light is your nature. So, be you. Be the light in the world. Be the light in your world. Because that will invariably affect everyone else. Because they will see you. Remember our daily affirmations. And remember, you were created to do great things. Don't let the opinions of others become your reality. You choose. That being said, I'll read the epilogue and I'll end it from there. Epilogue. Just as a millionaire had predicted, the young man made his first million before his 6-year deadline was up, and he kept his promise. He took a month off and wrote about his encounter with the instant millionaire and a life-giving philosophy he had passed on to him, which in turn became this book. Again, thank you. And, you'll still be seeing me every Sunday when we're reading our weekly lessons. And other than that, I'm ending it with this. And I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy. Take care.